Do your thing.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us.
No problem.
We know you've been speaking and doing seminars for many years in the U.S. as well as internationally, and you've worked with some of the top companies in the world, even addressing governments. We've been interviewing several entrepreneurs, asking them if they see a big difference working with U.S. entrepreneurs versus international entrepreneurs, and wanted to ask you if you feel like there's more opportunity in our country or less, say, within the past 5 years. Maybe what I'm getting at is, do you still feel like the American dream is alive here in the U.S., or has it gone somewhere else?
That's a good question. I think that the American dream is definitely alive here in the U.S. I think that, in a down economy, it's just as many, there is legitimately opportunities that dry up, and I think just as many or more open up. And, it's a known fact throughout history that people make their fortunes in down economies. I do speak internationally. I just got back from recently from Zimbabwe, and I think that the economy in certain places around the world internationally is very much alive. I don't know how I would compare one to the other. I almost could argue that in certain countries, let's say like Zimbabwe, there's almost more opportunity in those countries than I feel like in the U.S. because in the United States, we have been brought up into the whole, American dream, apple pie. If you have a good idea, get out there, take a chance, and you can attain, the lifestyle that you want. And I do think that's still alive, but I think that now there's so many entrepreneurs in the States that one of the most difficult things to accomplish is being first to market. If you have a great idea, you have to get in there and probably form a corporation and get after that idea that week, or somebody else is going to have that idea 2 weeks from now. And when I step off the plane in many of those places, like Zimbabwe, for instance, there's so much opportunity. I'm looking around and saying, man, they don't have this yet, they don't have this yet, they don't have this yet. There's just being first to market on a lot of those things is just very easy to do. And I think that one thing that is important in countries like that is the adoption of the U.S. dollar, which they just recently did. I think that's going to kind of stabilize things. But I think there's a lot of, even in our home country here, I think there's a lot of opportunity. And again, I think it's exciting times for people to create wealth. I think that regardless of where we live, a big misconception about business, or I should say a big reason why some people fail and some people succeed in a big way, is that when you think about business, there's really two sides to business, or I'll say two sides to success. One is the journey. So we spend a lot of time in a journey figuring out, what we want to do, who we are. We self-develop our skill sets and hone our craft, and we learn how to build value in our product or service that we're presenting. And we have a lot of time in the game, and we definitely, in that journey, we learn what not to do. We take a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. We learn what not to do. At some point in our journey, we kind of have to take responsibility and accept the obligation of being entrepreneurs. I think that's a big day of recognizing and taking the responsibility that we actually are entrepreneurs, and we can't rely on people to just hand us a check. And through that whole journey, most people's journeys, they might last a decade or 2 or 3, and they have that time in the game, and that's necessary to have that journey. But regardless of how long your journey's been, or what your journey has been about, or what you may or may not have learned in that journey has absolutely nothing to do with your ability to make money. See, making money is a completely different side of things. So it doesn't matter what you picked up, the whole journey. You might have been in the game 20, 30 years. You figured out what not to do, what to do. But that really doesn't have anything to do with your ability to make money. And I think that once you've had this great journey, what's necessary for most people is to sit down and really find hard variables and really plan a very simple and mathematically sound plan of exactly how to create wealth. To sit down and say, okay, now we've gathered all the data from this journey, and let's put some hard numbers in this. This to here to here to here equals $2 million this quarter. You have to build a very sound mathematical plan. And I don't profess to be a self-help guy. I believe in visualization. I believe in positive affirmations and laws of attraction, and I believe in your mental dictates to your physical what you're able to do, and I think all of that's necessary. But the world that I'm coming out of is a completely different side of things. I'm coming from a very literal business math-based side where people or corporations are saying, we have to make $12 million in the next 2 quarters profit, and we can't miss on this day. When you have hard numbers on you like that, positive affirmations and energy isn't going to make $12 million. Once you have the strategy to make the $12 million, positive thinking and all the other stuff, it helps keep you on track, but it won't physically generate the $12 million for most people. So I think that, the journey is great, but at some point you have to take all the math out of that journey, find your hard variables, and have a very simple and mathematically sound plan or strategy to be able to grab that volume. And it's kind of like this. If a plane went down and there was a lot of people, let's say, stranded on a desert island, one of the first things that people should do, there might be fear and panic ensuing, and one of the first things they should do is probably get everybody out of the plane and make sure everybody's okay. And then within hours, they should probably do an inventory of what the situation looks like. Do an inventory of the luggage, put everything on the beach. And, before you do that step, you might hear things like, we're going to die, we're never going to make it, they're never coming for us, we're all going to die. There might be fear and panic. But once you really look at the cards you're playing with, or once you put all the inventory on the beach, let's say, you might look at the situation and say, why do we have, and everybody has different inventory in them, why do you have so much soap in your purse? How come you have all this rope? Why do you have this? And when you look at everybody's personal inventory, it might completely change the perspective of the situation. You might say, guys, calm down, everybody's going to be okay. The question isn't whether we're going to be okay, we're going to be fine, but forget, are we going to be okay? We could thrive as a community. So the question now becomes, do we want to go back, right? And you have a different perspective of what you're looking at after you do that inventory. And that's the thing with most people. People collect a lot of inventory over the years from their journey, from their time in the game, but they never empty out all the inventory on the beach and look at all the hard variables and then make that strategy. And for some reason, there's a misconception that the longer we stay on the road, the longer we stay on the journey, that eventually somebody's just going to say, okay, you've earned it, you paid 20 years, come on up here, and they're going to help us figure it out. Or by some reason, staying on the road longer will equate to more money and eventually wealth. And that doesn't happen. There's a day where you have to be very cognizant and be very aware of saying, I've done enough journey. I've paid my dues. I figured out what not to do. I think I know what to do. But you actually have to get off the road, stop the journey, and say, now I got to go back through all my inventory I've gathered and make this very sound, mathematically based plan. And that doesn't happen by accident. You have to, and so when I'm in seminars, I might be traveling across the country. Afterwards I like to hang out like this and engage people and learn about people, and I'm trying to always constantly learn. And sometimes I'll meet the most brilliant people that have had the most amazing journeys. They've lived much more exciting of a journey than I have. They've lived 2 or 3 lives, and I'm compelled to sit with them after the seminar till 2, 3 a.m. and I'm just thinking in my mind, this person is probably one of the most amazing people that I've ever talked to on the planet, probably. But this person I'm talking to has nothing. They literally don't have a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of. And it's a very sad fact, because we feel like if we just stay on the road and we pay our dues and we put more time in the game, eventually these things will come together and assemble for us, and that doesn't happen. So I think that regardless of what country we live in, I think that what's necessary is to have some journey, figure out what not to do. Self-educate is very important. But at the same time, when we have that great idea, we have to really look at our inventory and put it on write it out and say, what math am I playing with? What hard variables or what inventory do I have to work with, and then draw out some strategies. And once you have that strategy, that's what it takes, I think, for people to be successful. So, the SBA is saying right now 75% of small businesses are going out of business in 2 years, 85% are failing in 60 months. But me and my friends, we might start companies all the time, and generally they'll turn profit within the first month or quarter. And I think the difference is just not relying so much on the self-help stuff, but really relying on getting the right information and making the right strategy. So I do think the American dream is very much alive, and I think that it's exciting times that we live in. So,
Thank you very much for your time.
my pleasure.
We always appreciate speaking with you, Dan, and look forward to following you in your much continued success.
Thank you very much.